joining us for another edition of To My Way of Thinking. Today, we're talking with Senate candidate for District 5, Tracie Davis. Thanks for joining us, Tracie.
Thank you for having me, Fred. I appreciate being here.
Thank you. I know this is a busy time, so we're going to get right into it. What is the state of our state of Florida?
I know your viewers have seen a number of bills that this governor has signed, and so the state of the state is not so well when it comes to the leadership of the state. It's been a really painful time in the Florida Senate as a Democrat in the minority caucus. We've been dealing with anything and everything from, abortion bans to don't say gay to overhaul of election laws. And so it's been a really tough time. The other part of that is we have a federal government that's provided billions of dollars to this community. And we have a governor that's choosing to spend it the way he wants to spend it. And so timing is everything. And so again, I say that for the fact that we'll have a gas tax holiday right before the November election. So everything is about timing and everything is about elections during this time. So that's what's happening in the state of the state. A lot of, in my opinion, a lot of bad, but a lot of bad, but some good.
What are the top three issues for you?
Top three issues for me is definitely quality education for all of our children. We're having an issue with affordable housing. We know that Jacksonville is going through a lack of inventory and housing around for our residents. And that's not just for Jacksonville, that's for the state of Florida. So definitely a housing issue, as well as COVID opened the door to let us know we still have healthcare disparities, especially when it comes to African Americans. And so we have a huge healthcare disparity gap there that we need to take more time with and put more funding behind as a state. But those are just the top three. You all know I come from elections, so elections is always in my wheelhouse. And of course, we had a governor that said we had the best election in 2020. And here over the last two sessions, my colleagues have done everything they possibly can to create unnecessary burdens and cost taxpayers unnecessary dollars.
Well, you're going to be going to a Senate, much like you were in the House. At this point, you're going to a Senate where you're going to be in the minority, and trying to get things passed is always a question of who are you going to be able to work with on the other side of the aisle to get things passed. What kind of legislation do you think from the Democrat side of the House stands the best chance of getting passed on with the Republican side of the House?
Wow, that is a loaded question, Fred. But I have to share with you that I was elected to the Florida House in 2016. And coming from the election background, I went into the Florida House saying, I'm going to make as many relationships and maintain who I am going into the Florida House. When I walked into the elections office, everyone said, oh, Tracie is the Democrat that wins our elections. And by the time I left, I was Tracie runs our elections. I took that same mindset into the Florida House. And I proudly say that I am one of a few Democrats that have passed 17 pieces of legislation, meaning I put 17 bills on the books, and only 2 of those bills were resolutions that we just do. 15 of those pieces were actual legislation where it was changing a law or making it better for something better for our residents. And in that wheelhouse, of course, was election bill. And it's a part of the system where people can now drop their vote by mail ballot off to the early voting site. That was something I did. And it was actually something that I got passed in the House. It didn't pass in the Senate, but I worked with a Republican colleague for him to put it in an election bill that he had. And so I have no problem with working across the aisles. 2 of my most significant pieces of legislation I've worked with my Republican colleagues. One is called Donna's Law, where we remove the statute of limitation for people. The other one is what we call having, it's a mandatory system where every county in the state has to have a sexual assault response team. And again, those are bills I ran with Republican colleagues. And I know we have to work across the aisle. So I will be going into the Senate encouraging my Democratic colleagues that in order to get the best thing done, the most significant things done for our residents throughout the state of Florida, we have to work with our colleagues, even though we know that there's some bad bills that we put up, and the issue is trying to make them better and trying to get the poison pills out of those bills. So we have to work across the aisle. That's anything with funding, election laws is something we'll definitely be working across the aisle to do. And I will continue to do things like legislation I've done for minority teachers, as well as continue with the sexual assault legislation that I've started.
Do you think there's any chance that Florida might put on the ballot the same question that Kansas put on the ballot concerning abortion? And if so, would you be in favor of that?
I would 100% be in favor of it. But Fred, I have to be honest. And I come to you being 100% all the time. Under this governor, with this leadership, it will absolutely not happen, because this governor is a governor, as you can see, that has no sense of boundaries. And you can see what he just did with the state attorney in Tampa, Andrew Warren, by suspending him, with Andrew Warren saying, I'm not going to jail or prosecute a woman for having an abortion. So that he said, he's given us his answer. If you don't agree with me, I'm going to show you what I can do. And that's the overreach. That's the bullying that he's capable of. The Disney legislation that we just left session dealing with was a perfect example of that. Disney, you don't do what I tell you to do, then I'm going to make your life miserable here in Florida.
What is this negative Medicare rap that I've been reading about Tracie Davis? It says that you either defunded Medicare or you voted against Medicare. What's that all about? Where'd that come from?
Since you're trying to be honest with me, I'm going to be honest with you. That actually came from a state budget vote. That was me voting for the state budget. My opponent identified that as Tracie Davis cuts Medicaid for seniors, and Tracie Davis is a fighter for our seniors. And that was a yes to a budget vote. Most of my colleagues voted yes. So it wasn't Tracie Davis, the Democrat, being the only person that voted. We were actually voting for the state budget, because the state budget had a lot of good things in it that actually came back to Jacksonville. And I actually had several projects in it that totaled probably over $1.5 million that were coming back here for Jacksonville. So I voted yes for that. That $550 million was a line item in the state budget, but it didn't, that was part of the context. The other part of the context was we did get some of those dollars back. That was not the final budget, because those Medicaid cuts that were discussed in that commercial was not the final dollar. So I was voting to bring dollars and cents back to Jacksonville, and JP Small Ballpark was a part of that.
So that was a damned if you do, damned if you don't vote, because it all was about the annual state budget that everybody has to vote up or down on. Is that what I'm understanding?
That is exactly correct. Absolutely. So had I voted down on that, Fred, I would have been voting for a down against the very projects that I had in the budget. And so you're absolutely right. Not necessarily a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I thought it was more positives in that budget, like the monies for Jacksonville versus the negatives.
Now, you first came to light, certainly came on my screen and everybody else, as a chief aide in the supervisor of elections office now almost more than a decade ago. And
Yeah.
many folks that were hoping that you could get that, but in many ways, you've gotten even a better position. That is to help shape the laws that the supervisor of elections go by. What have you learned over the last few years that you served in the House of Representatives of the state of Florida?
But it is all about relationships. It's about relationships. It's about partnerships. It is about, I went into, as I was running for this office, I went into every interview. And the first thing I said, I let people know that I am a principled Democrat. You're going to know who you are getting. And I'm not going to waver from that. But it is about relationships and it is about working across the aisle. And I have learned that having that ability of being a partner, whether I'm working with my Democratic colleagues, whether I'm working with my Republican colleagues, it is all about relationships. And having those relationships have allowed me to be able to pass significant legislation for this state that I can be proud of. Having those relationships have allowed me to bring millions of dollars back, topping around 5, 6 million $6 million for this county, and those relationships will help me walk over into the Senate and be this city's next state senator. And with that, I'll continue the relationships to be the best representative and to bring back the most I can for the residents of Duval County. And so that's what I've learned. I've learned how to be a partner, but at the same time, I learned that it is absolutely okay with my community when I stand up and take a stand and I fight and speak out for them against some of the bad legislation that's there. But those relationships help me do that. So I've learned to really be a warrior in the state house for Jacksonville, and I will continue to do that. But again, I've also learned that having those relationships have allowed me to bring back millions and have allowed me to put significant legislation on the books.
A couple of issues here. You talk about affordable health care. Don't we already have affordable health care in the state of Florida?
We have affordable health care, but we actually have almost 1 million people without any type of health care
Well,
in
well,
the state of Florida.
but isn't that more job related than it is? You know, healthcare is just not there. The Obamacare signs are all over the streets. When it comes time to sign up, seniors can basically get into Medicare with the proper paperwork. What isn't the lack of healthcare or access to it more related to jobs than is anything else?
I think that I think access could be related to jobs, but I still think we have a system where we still have people out of work. We still have people struggling from COVID and understanding what the effects of those are. We still have people lacking access to the proper medical professional. We still have that. So, and we also still have people that have no health care at all. So there's a lot of layers as to what those reasons could be. And yes, you're right, Fred. We do have Obamacare, but we still have people that are struggling to even afford that. And that is making that's the state making sure that we have everyone that has some type of health care. Other countries can do this. Why not this country?
Gun control. Are you okay with open carry? And if it should actually come up in the Senate, are you okay with open carry? Um, you can to protect yourself. We already have stand your ground, which allows you to defend yourself. But open carry seems to be the next big thing. Are you okay with it?
Open carry does seem to be the next big thing. And I will sit here proudly and tell you that I have my concealed weapons license. I carry it with me every day. Do I have a firearm? No, I do not. But I wanted to have my concealed weapons license. So if I wanted to purchase a gun, I would be doing it legally and lawfully. Your question is, am I okay with open carry? I am not okay with open carry. And it's specifically for certain areas. I do not want guns on school campuses, but we went to our alternate, and so we have our SRO officers that handle that. They walk the campuses with their guns, but to have a teacher with the gun I'm a former teacher. I taught special education in the school system. I would be fearful every day to have a gun in my classroom, even if it's in a lockbox. So I am not okay with open carry. I know some situations, there's a conversation for it. There's a debate for it, but I have to say I am not okay with open carry.
Well, yeah, I feel you there. I taught for a brief period of time in middle school, and if I had my gun and I had it with me, I know that they would have found a way to get into my desk drawer or something
Right.
to get their little hands on it, and that would have been quite a thing.
Correct. Correct.
But I
And so
mean,
you had middle school, I had special education. There is a reason why we have full-time paras in the rooms with us.
that is true. Let's go back to the Republican majority again.
Yes.
What do you see as the first thing that you're going to have to deal with when you get to the Senate? What legislation do you see that's coming down the pipe that most average voters, average citizen don't see that's coming down the pipe when you sit down at your desk?
That's a good one. Most legislation, we deal with a lot of repeals of things, a lot of updating of laws that are on the books. We do a lot of changes with that, and that's things people typically do not see or pay attention to. We'll start dealing with the budget immediately. And so again, that's what my job is, just to make sure everyone understands my job as a lawmaker is to balance the state budget first and foremost. And then as a lawmaker, it is to ensure that laws are put on the books to protect and maintain, our society and protect our residents. So, dealing with that's just something people typically don't see unless they have a line item in the budget. So the budget is one of the things we'll deal with right away. I have to go back to what you just talked about with the open carry. That'll probably be something we see right away because it's been in a conversation. I do anticipate possibly, because we have a lawsuit out with the voting rights bill, the last one, SB 524, that is in the middle of a lawsuit. The Don't Say Gay bill is in the middle of a lawsuit. So those bills that are in the middle of a lawsuit, we'll see probably come back to us as well. At the end of the day, I'll be honest with you, Fred, I really hope I'm dealing with a different governor. So if I'm dealing with a different governor, when I return to the Florida Senate, a number of the things that have caused us angst and anxiety will be definitely things we see because the new governor will reverse all of that.
Who is Tracie Davis?
Caught me off guard, didn't you? Tracie Davis is a Jacksonville native, born and bred right here, attended and graduated from local high schools. My high school being William M. Raines. I was a Viking. I am a Christian woman, full of faith, integrity. I live by having the trust and confidence of my community, but the trust and confidence and love and support from my family. I am a mother of 3 adult children. One of those adults is my biological child. I am a wife. We have lots and lots of grandkids moving around. The youngest being 2, and the oldest being 26, I think. So lot of children in that range, but I am just a woman that's working toward a cause. I feel like I am being placed here by my Heavenly Father for this particular time. And I walk this journey listening to the words that my God shares with me.
You
And
partially
I make this. Go ahead, Fred.
you partially answered this question, but I'm going to ask it again as you delve a little deeper into it. Why you? Why now?
Why me? Um, this community knows who I am. This community knows the work that I've done even before being elected in 2016. They knew me from being a teacher. They knew me from working in the elections office. And so when I ran in 2016, they knew me from there. And I feel like I have only garnered this community's confidence and trust in what I've done. And I know they know the Tracie that they see is the only Tracie out there. And that's the Tracie that they're going to get 100% of the time. Why now? This is a simple opportunity, Fred. We have Senator Gibson being termed out. We have that seat being vacant due to her term limits. And, I love to answer that question with, I'm doing the work already, so why not me? I think you're trying to make me say something. So the reason we use True. I started off with Real, but that was kind of, I guess, taken up by an opponent of mine, and so we use True. True is who you get. True is true and trusted. Proven is who Tracie is. I have never been anything but a registered Democrat, unlike my opponent. And so I am a real Democrat as well as a true Democrat because I am honest. I feel like the community knows that. I do not waver in my stances, and everyone around me, the people in Tallahassee, all of the organizations that have endorsed us, and we've gotten all of the endorsements. We've received every last one of them. My opponent received none. I spoke in every interview. I am sitting in front of you as a principal Democrat, but you will always have access to me. You will always be able to know where I am. If I am with you, I will tell you I'm with you. And when I'm not with you and we're not in agreements, I'm going to tell you I'm not in agreement with you, and you'll never have to waver. I do not change. You'll never have to figure out where I am on a vote because you'll always know that. And that's how I've always operated in Tallahassee. And that's why Tallahassee is supporting this candidacy, because they do know who I am. And they do know that if I cannot be in agreement with them, I'll always be truthful in the sense of letting them know that. And they'll never have to guess. And that's what people want. They just always want to be able to have access to you, be able to sit down and talk with you, and be able to trust what you say. It's true.